In the desolate world of Argos, an abandoned alien named Laira yearns for acceptance. As a human ship crash lands nearby, she must decide whether to help the strangers who could also reject her. Amidst uncertainty and danger, can friendship bridge the gap between their vastly different worlds? What happens when morality collides with survival? If you dream of entering universes or planets where humans shine when they meet unknown races, subscribe, turn on notifications, and you will be happy every day with new wonderful sci-fi stories. Well, let's go. In the desolate expanse of Argos, an alien world forever locked in an embrace of frost and shadow, the air shimmered with a ghostly luminescence, painting the environment in hues of azure and silver. Towering ice formations arose like ancient monuments, casting long, distorted silhouettes against a sky heavy with the weight of impending storms. Every gust of wind whispered secrets of the cosmos, but no sound echoed the finality of a young alien's heart-shattering. Laira, a member of the Zorith race, stood alone amidst the wreckage of her people's decision. Her skin, a vibrant blue reflective of the deepest oceanic depths, was now dulled by a coat of frost. The cobalt hue contrasted starkly with the bleached whites of the frozen landscape, emphasizing her isolation. Her large, luminescent eyes, usually filled with the spark of determination, were now clouded with despair, her delicate features betraying the internal struggle swirling within her. Abandoned by her own, deemed too weak to endure the harshness of their stark existence, she felt the chill of loneliness seep into her very bones. As she sought refuge in a dark, frosty cave, her breath formed clouds of mist, shimmering briefly before vanishing like the remnants of her hopes. Seated at the cave's entrance, Laira buried her head in her hands, grappling with feelings of betrayal. How could her people turn their backs on her? Would the universe allow her to forge a new destiny, or was she destined to be forever adrift and alone? Suddenly, the silence was shattered by a piercing thrum slicing through the thick, frosty air, seizing her attention. Glancing upward, she witnessed a massive human vessel hurtling from the sky, spiraling downward with a violent crash onto the icy terrain. The impact sent clouds of ice and snow into the air, creating a phantom storm that danced and swirled around Laira, reflecting her tumultuous emotions. "What are those creatures?" she whispered in awe, her heart racing at the sight. She found herself instinctively drawn to the ship, a flicker of excitement igniting within her, a remnant of hope amidst hopelessness. Despite her uncertainty, Laira edged closer to the wreckage, her heart pounding with adrenaline. "Hello, are you okay?" she called out, her voice trembling yet hopeful, a stark contrast to the despair she had just felt. Her words echoed, barely penetrating the veil of chaos surrounding the fallen ship. Out of the thick smoke emerged figures, humanoids clad in advanced survival gear, their faces illuminated by an eerie glow of desperation and shock. Their eyes widened in unison as they took in the sight of the ethereal blue alien before them, a creature unlike anything they had ever encountered. Captain Alex Raymond, the leader of the crew, stepped forward with an air of authority, his tall frame cloaked in a tattered uniform that spoke of battle-hardened resolve. His keen eyes, sharp and intelligent, bore down on Laira, his mind racing to process what lay before him. "Stay back," he barked, raising a hand reflexively, the uncertainty knotted in his brow betraying his genuine wish to protect his crew. He had seen too much chaos to trust so easily, especially in a foreign environment. Yet, beneath the layers of fear, a flicker of hope dared to surface, a thread connecting his fate with that of this fragile-looking being. Amidst the stark hues of deep blue and icy white which enveloped Argos, Laira felt an urge to protect those who had fallen from the sky. The cave before her loomed like a sanctuary, an oasis amid the relentless wilderness. Its mouth yawned wide, a promise of refuge against the frigid winds. The shadows danced along the jagged walls as Laira cautiously approached the disoriented humans. Captain Alex Raymond observed Laira with both wariness and curiosity. His tattered uniform fluttered slightly in the cold breeze, each frayed edge telling tales of battles fought and survived. Standing erect, with sharp features that accentuated his determined gaze, he held a command that demanded respect despite his apparent fatigue. "Stay back," he commanded, instinctively raising his hand in a protective gesture. Trust was a fragile bridge, and he was reluctant to cross it. The crew stood huddled behind him, eyes wide with uncertainty. "Please, I can help," Laira implored, her voice quivering with an undercurrent of earnestness. Her blue skin shimmered ethereally, a stark contrast against the dull, muted spectrum of the human's attire. "Come into the cave. It is safe. Warmer than out here." Captain Raymond hesitated, but a flicker of recognition swirled in his chest, a glimmer of hope. His heart softened, torn between survival instincts and the silent plea in Laira's eyes. His mouth opened as if words would come, but none emerged, his legs taking a cautious step forward. "What do you know of this land?" he asked finally, lowering his defensive posture just enough to acknowledge her. The crew behind him shuffled nervously, their breath clouding in the air. "We're in need of shelter." Laira sensed the skepticism but pressed on, determination surging within her. "I may not possess the might of your kind," she admitted, her words carrying both vulnerability and strength. "But I know these mountains, its storms, its secrets. If you trust me, I can lead you to safety." With a silent agreement hanging in the frozen air, Captain Raymond nodded, and the group stepped cautiously into the mouth of the cave. Inside, the walls glistened like the pristine ice fields outside but still bore the warmth, enveloping them like a blanket. A temporary haven from the obsidian night looming beyond. As they settled into the cave, Captain Raymond surveyed the crew, witnessing their exhaustion morph into cautious optimism. Among them was Dr. Maya Chen, a biologist specializing in xenobiology, with short hair that framed her sharp features and glasses reflecting the dim light of their makeshift camp. She quietly observed Laira, her curiosity evident, sketching in a notebook filled with diagrams and notes about the alien life on Argos. Then Javier Mark, the ship's engineer, whose disheveled appearance betrayed the stress of their predicament. He had been trying to restore the ship's systems, a task that felt increasingly futile in the face of nature's relentless fury. "So, what's your story?" Laira asked, her voice breaking the silence that had settled among them. Captain Raymond leaned against a stone wall, his expression carved into hard lines. "We were on a routine mission, surveying ancient remnants of technology," he explained gradually, the memories hitting him like the rough currents of Argos itself. "Then a storm knocked us off course. We crashed here." His gaze shifted toward his crew, a hint of protectiveness shimmering in the depths of his eyes. "We came for knowledge, and now we might be lost to this world." The shadows flickered around them, and Laira's heart twisted. "I've been left behind before," she shared quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Her experience as an outcast felt all too familiar. "When my people returned to the stars, I was deemed unworthy. I learned to survive in the frozen expanse alone." Dr. Chen interjected, her voice soft yet laden with empathy. "You must have endured a great deal, Laira. But you're not alone anymore," she reassured, glancing at Captain Raymond. "We're all in this together." When Captain Raymond stepped closer, he found a sense of connection forming. He felt compelled to understand more about Laira and her people. "What do you mean by unworthy?" he questioned, not to pry but to appreciate the depths of her experience. He sensed an unspoken bond forming, as alien and human alike faced the specter of isolation. "I was different," Laira revealed. My skin, a mark of my uniqueness, suggested weakness. Power is a currency among my kin. It engenders fear, respect, and sometimes that is the price of inclusion. Her stare pierced through Captain Raymond, laying bare the uncertainty that swirled in the core of her identity. I had only known solitude until you crashed here. As evening capes the cave in deeper shadows, silence fell once more, but this time without the weight of despair. The flickering lights from their devices mingled with the shimmering hues of Laira's skin, illuminating her spirit. Suddenly, the stillness shattered. A loud crack reverberated through the ice just outside. "What was that?" Mark exclaimed, springing to his feet, muscles tense with alertness. "An ice slip," Laira whispered, her instincts guiding her. "We must be cautious. The storms shift the landscape unexpectedly." The group shifted uneasily. Primal survival instincts buzzed in the air, and a shared look of determination settled among them. Standing shoulder to shoulder, with Laira at the helm, they were no longer just lost souls. They were now partners united against an unyielding world. Later that night, as snowflakes danced outside like celestial spirits, they gathered around a meager fire Laira had ignited with the remnants of the crash. Each flicker illuminated their faces, revealing the tenderness and tension woven between them. Stories began to weave through the room. Mark shared tales of their journey on board the ship, technologies beyond imagination, simulations of advanced star maps, the thrill of unraveling new worlds. They spoke of creatures that roamed the skies of Earth, and Laira, in turn, recounted unimaginable tales of the majestic storms that swept over Argos and the ancient beings that once thrived in its frozen embrace. As Laira's laughter echoed in the cave, it felt a little warmer. It felt a little more like home. Yet, a sense of foreboding lingered beneath the joy. She pondered what would happen when they finally escaped Argos. Would her vulnerability resurface? Would it haunt her, as it had before? The thought tethered to her mind, heavy yet unyielding. She had found solace within this eclectic group, a touch of belonging she yearned for. Deep into the night, Laira turned her gaze toward the stars shimmering against the cold abyss. Days merged into nights in the cave, the flickering light of the fire casting shadows that danced against the icy walls. Laira's bond with the humans, fragile yet resilient, deepened with shared stories and laughter, blending their vastly different cultures like shimmering stars across a midnight sky. The cave echoed their voices, carrying hopes and dreams above the relentless howl of the cold winds outside. Still, amid their newfound camaraderie, an unsettling tension loomed, a chill that stretched beyond the wintry breeze. One chilling morning, the atmosphere shifted. A heavy fog settled over the cave, enveloping their sanctuary in a blanket of uncertainty. The ship's damaged hull groaned under the weight of their despair, each creak resonating like a countdown. Time was not on their side. "Without communication, we are trapped," one of the crew, Lieutenant Anna Torres, muttered, her voice thick with hopelessness. She paced back and forth, eyes scanning the cave as if willing it to offer a solution. Laira watched the humans as they wrestled with anxiety, tension lacing her own heart. Whispers of doubt flickered through her mind, doubts born from her prior rejection. Just when the cold sting of despair threatened to freeze the warmth building between them, Laira felt a spark ignite from within her. "I know of an ancient communication station," she revealed, her pulse quickening with the prospect of hope that radiated through her. The words tumbled out as if they had been bottled up, waiting for the opportune moment to surface. "But it's a dangerous journey." Dangerous, not just because of the treacherous expanse they had to navigate, but because it was a journey that would require not only their physical strength but emotional fortitude. Laira's heart raced with anticipation and dread as she spoke the next few words. "I have to warn you, though, the path is fraught with peril. It tests the very fabric of your resolve. Captain Alexander Raymond, his gaze piercing yet compassionate, contemplated her revelation, the rugged lines of his face furrowing deeper. "We must take the chance. Every moment we stay here weakens our hope," he declared, the steely determination in his voice igniting something within Laira. A flicker of belonging she had long yearned for. Laira wrestled with the turmoil spiraling within her. For the first time, she felt valued and seen, yet the fear of abandonment loomed large, threatening to envelop her as they prepared for an uncertain adventure into the icy unknown. A place where warmth transformed into myth and survival demanded sacrifice. Equipped with rudimentary supplies and an invigorating resolve, they set forth into the frost-bitten wilderness of Argos. The air outside the caves stung their exposed skin. Laira took the lead, instinct sharpened by necessity, guiding the group as they navigated through the winding labyrinth of ice tunnels and crevices. Cascading icicles glimmered like the fangs of a mythological beast overhead, the sound of dripping water harmonizing with the crunch of snow underfoot. "Stay close," she urged, a note of authority in her voice now replacing the uncertainty that had accompanied them earlier. Each step forward coiled around her heart, the tangled fear of rejection juxtaposed with a burgeoning sense of togetherness. As they ventured deeper into the treacherous terrain, Captain Raymond took note of her resilience. "You know these routes well," he murmured, admiration lacing his words. "Have you led others before?" Laira hesitated, a pang of sorrow resonating within her as she recalled her past, marked by isolation and judgment. "Once, but I was left behind," she replied quietly, staring down at her feet. "The journey was too arduous, and I was deemed too weak." The group fell silent, the weight of her revelation settling heavily in the air, charged with unspoken understanding. Then, from behind, Lieutenant Anna stepped closer and spoke, her voice steady as she reached out to Laira. "But not now. You've survived so much already. We see your strength." Laira blinked at the acknowledgement, warmth blooming in her chest, brightening the icy gloom surrounding them. It was a glimmer of hope, the invisible bond of acceptance brewing among them. As they forged on, whilst traversing a precarious ice bridge that arched over a shadowy chasm, the air was thick with tension. The bridge creaked ominously beneath the weight of their footsteps, and Laira felt her heart race, not from fear of the depths below but from a newfound resolve to protect her companions. "Focus on the other side. We can do this," Captain Raymond encouraged, his eyes meeting hers, igniting her spirits when she felt they waver. At last, they reached the summit of a ridge, the communication station unveiling itself before them, a looming silhouette against the backdrop of swirling snow. It looked like the remnants of an ancient civilization, frozen in a time long past. Its metallic structure glimmered, half buried under layers of ice. It was more than a piece of technology. It was a monument to forgotten dreams and aspirations. Standing before its imposing entrance, Laira's apprehension deepened. "It may not work," she whispered, glancing back at the weary faces of her newfound allies. "It has not been used in centuries." Captain Raymond rested a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Then we will find a way to make it work." Together, as night fell, they flickered the emergency lights to illuminate the darkened interior. The glow revealed a hauntingly beautiful expanse filled with enigmatic alien glyphs etched into the walls, echoes of the culture that once thrived in the colors of light and shadow. Desks, frozen in time, housed old equipment, coated in dust and frost, a graveyard of futures left unfulfilled. In this eerie silence, Laira felt a profound connection to the space around them. The tendrils of her own anguish intertwined with the remnants of stories left behind, painting visions of vibrant lives lived in passionate defiance against the harshness of existence. "Help me with this," she called, urgency framing her voice, as she led them through the labyrinthine corridors cluttered with machinery, dodging remnants of technology once believed to connect worlds. They spent hours attempting to access the main terminal, their breath fogging the air as they sifted through archaic components, frustration mounting with every attempt that yielded silence. As the minutes turned into hours, the dwindling light from outside began to bleed into darkness, and an electric tension filled the air. "We're running out of time," Anna said, her voice tense but calm, eyes darting anxiously between her companions. "We can't give up. Push," Captain Raymond urged, determination fueling his grip on the equipment. "We can't let this end in silence. We owe it to each other." The expedition to the communication station was fraught with peril. As the small group ventured into the frozen wilderness of Argos, the steel-gray clouds above began to thicken, forming a shroud that muted sound and swallowed warmth. Laira led them with a determined stride, her blue skin glinting faintly against the frosty landscape, a beacon amidst the swirling snowflakes. Captain Raymond's crew, with their weary eyes and trembling limbs, tried to keep pace, driven by the urgency of their mission. "Keep moving," Captain Raymond urged, his gloved hands pressed against the chill of his uniform, eyes scanning the horizon. The desolation around them echoed an unsettling truth. Every moment spent exposed was a moment closer to their demise. As they trudged along a narrow passage, the air grew dense with anticipation. "We're close. I can feel it," Laira declared, matching her resolve with the quickened pulse of her body. She embraced the icy winds, exuding a determination that ignited hope in her human companions. Lyra's instinct led her deeper into the heart of these desolate mountains, believing the twinge of danger was merely the price of their survival. Suddenly, an icy gust whipped through the narrow gorge, sending shards of snow blocking their path. "This way," Laira shouted, barely heard over the howling wind. She ducked into a crevice, urging the others to follow her. The crew stumbled in after her, hearts racing as they pressed deeper into the cave's frozen embrace. Inside, the atmosphere shifted. The cacophony of the blizzard quieted, and the walls shimmered with a strange, luminescent ice that seemed alive, casting pale reflections of light around them. Laira paused, taking in the mesmerizing sight. "This cave, it's a sanctuary of my people," she explained, her voice softer yet filled with an unyielding pride. "We've always revered this place." Captain Raymond studied her as if seeing Laira for the first time, not just the ethereal guide, but a bearer of her culture's history. "Can you communicate with it?" he asked, a tinge of hope mingling with curiosity. She nodded, recalling intricate rituals passed down through generations. Tentatively, she raised her hands, tracing ancient symbols in the frozen air. A low hum vibrated through the cave, echoes of her people resonating through the icy walls, stirring memories long forgotten. The crew watched, entranced, as colors rippled across the surface, illuminating their faces with a surreal glow. "Is this safe?" one crew member whispered, unease etched on her face. "This is a place of connection," Laira reassured them, but the shadows flickering in the depths of her mind stirred unease. She felt the weight of her heritage press upon her, the knowledge that this sanctuary had once offered her kind a refuge, but now, in this transforming world, could act as both haven and prison. Their impromptu respite didn't last long. As the deep hum faded, a tremor ran through the cave, signaling a growing danger outside. A chilling promise of peril loomed, and with urgency painted across their faces, they pressed on. Leaving the sanctuary behind, they traversed increasingly treacherous terrain. The biting winds clawed at their skin, and the ground beneath them shifted ominously. "We're almost there. Just a bit further," Laira called out, encouraging them against a backdrop of ever-chilling doubt. She refused to falter, an unwavering guide through the fierce blizzard. "When we get to the station, What will we find? Captain Raymond asked, his voice barely audible above the tempest. The last time you mentioned it, you spoke of an ancient technology. Can it really reach out to Earth? It can, Laira replied, her voice firm and compelling as they climbed up the slippery slope. But it has a cost. It requires a connection, a bond strong enough to transcend worlds. The chilling implications of her words hung in the air, a suggestion of sacrifice shadowing their path. The group trudged forward, fatigue gnawing at their spirits. Just as the visibility began to clear and the white waves stilled, they found themselves on the precipice of an open expanse, where jagged ice formations rose like ancient sentinels. The remnants of the communication station lay beyond, a crumbling structure cloaked in frost, standing stoically against time. Look, Laira pointed excitedly, her breath misting like clouds in the air. That's it. A mixture of abandonment and hope engulfed the crew as they approached, the enormity of the station striking them with awe. What once pulsated with energy now resembled a relic, covered in congealed ice, yet undeniably powerful. They stepped inside, the air thick with an unfamiliar energy. Wires hung like vines from a primordial tree, and vintage displays flickered dimly, their screens hazy and coated with layers of neglect. How do we start this? One crew member questioned, brushing off snow between her gloves. Here, Laira guided them, her fingers dancing across the ancient interface, which responded intermittently with bursts of light. This is the energy core. It needs to be activated to send a signal. As she worked, Captain Raymond and his crew watched, the weight of their shared desperation palpable in the chilly atmosphere. Will it really work? He asked, his voice laden with uncertainty. It must, Laira answered, her heart drumming as tension coiled around them. But it needs the combined effort of all our thoughts, our hopes, our shared essence to break through the void. The crew joined together, hands clasping in a circle, and focused their minds and spirits into the fading technology. A soft vibration resonated through the walls, a pulse echoing the heartbeat of a world yearning to connect. But as the energy began to swell, fear rippled through Laira. The thought of this connection leading to another abandonment loomed between them like a phantom. I won't let you go, Captain Raymond vowed, sensing her growing unease. The words hung between them, a reminder of the bonds they had formed amidst chaos. We're all in this together. As the station sparked to life, a brilliant surge coursed through the air, flooding their senses as the lights brightened, illuminating their faces. Yet, just as hope sought to flourish, a series of alarms broke the stillness. The ground shuddered violently beneath their feet, threatening to unravel the fragile sanctuary they had forged. Laira, what's happening? One crew member shouted, panic etching into her features. The energy, it's unstable. Laira replied, frantically tapping at the console in an attempt to stabilize it. We must channel it properly. It could explode if we don't. Captain Raymond grabbed her shoulders, looking into her eyes with fierce determination. Focus. We can do this. The air crackled with anticipation in the derelict communication station as they sent out their distress signal, a flicker of hope amidst the oppressive isolation of Argos. Laira and the crew huddled around the terminal, their breaths visible in the icy environment, forming fleeting clouds that dissipated into the dark. Time stretched infinitely in that frozen sanctuary, each second heavy with the weight of uncertainty. As they waited, the soft hum of the machinery pulsed like a heart, offering a rhythm of hope despite their fear-filled hearts. After a seemingly eternal silence, a crackling voice broke through the static, sending shivers down their spines. We're coming for you. The words reverberated through Laira's mind, cascading waves of relief like warm sunlight piercing the icy gloom. Her eyes glistened with tears, yet a shadow of doubt lingered in the corners of her heart. What if they don't want me? She murmured, her voice a whisper, almost lost in the ambient hum of the equipment. She instinctively took a step back, her vibrant blue skin glowing dimly under the flickering lights of the control panel, seeming almost translucent against the muted glow of the ancient technology. "It's not true," Captain Raymond declared with firm conviction as he stepped closer, his gaze fierce and protective. "You've become one of us." There was a certainty in his tone, a promise unshaken by the deep-rooted fears that spiraled within Laira. As the crew anxiously prepared for the arrival of the Earth-bound ship, Laira's hands trembled slightly, a mix of apprehension and excitement coursing through her veins. She recalled their journey, every harsh gust of wind, every perilous step they had taken together. The laughter, the shared stories, the moments of camaraderie. It was all so vivid now, painting a tapestry of belonging that she had once thought unattainable. The faint thrum of engines grew louder, reverberating through the tumultuous winds outside. Shadows danced across the cave walls as the ship descended, its silhouette an imposing figure against the gleaming white of Argos. Laira stepped forward, heart racing, feeling the thud of her pulse echoing in her ears. "What will they think of me?" she thought, her mind swirling with visions of harsh judgment and rejection. Would they see her not as a brave ally but as a defect, a reminder of the fragility of life? "Laira," Captain Raymond called to her, sensing the storm brewing in her heart. "No matter what happens, remember who you are. You've shown strength we didn't know existed. You've fought for us." His voice was a soothing balm against the biting winds, a lifeline amidst her turmoil. As the hatch opened, the silhouette of the Earth crew emerged. Clad in sleek uniforms, they stood, momentarily awash in the journey's aftermath, their faces a mix of astonishment and cautious curiosity. The alien landscape behind the heroes they had come to retrieve only amplified their strangeness. Strange hues, glances exchanged, tension hung thick in the air like an unseen fog. "Is this it?" one astronaut whispered, eyes widening as they took in the sight of the battered crew, the stunning figure of Laira in their midst. "It is," Captain Raymond replied, standing tall, embodying authority and leadership. "And we owe our escape to this remarkable being." His hand gestured towards Laira, and she could feel the weight of their collective gaze enveloping her. "Laira," one of them repeated, stepping forward. It was the face of a woman with an aura of kindness that broke through the uncertainty. You helped them?" There was genuine curiosity, devoid of fear, a welcoming tone that resonated deep within Laira's heart. "Yes," Laira stammered, her voice quivering with a mix of fear and pride. "I knew the way through the storms. I guided them, despite my own fears." The admission tasted like freedom on her tongue, a cathartic expression of the strength she had discovered in herself. The silence that followed was deafening, a shared heartbeat, each person digesting the weight of her words, the intensity of her courage. Slowly, the expressions of her rescuers softened, moving from apprehension to awe. "Then you are one of us," the kind-faced woman said, extending a hand. In that moment, the world shifted ever so slightly for Laira. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, accepting the offer, an unspoken alliance forged in the myths of cultures colliding, in the raw authenticity of survival. "I will carry you with me," she whispered to the icy winds as she stared back at the vast expanse of Argos now illuminated by the soft lights of the ship. The glaciers glimmered under a sky filled with surprises, the majestic landscape no longer a prison but a precious memory, one she would cherish and share. "What's next for us?" one of the crew asked, excitement igniting the air, mixing with the anticipation that hung thick around them. "Wherever we go, we face it together," Captain Raymond proclaimed, his voice rich with certainty and vision, looking around at the faces lit with hope. A family bound by cosmic journeys. As their ship soared into the cosmos, Laira felt the warmth of acceptance wrap around her, a protective shield against the unknown. In the vastness of space, she realized she had uncovered more than just a plan for survival. She had discovered a purpose, a connection that transcended the boundaries of home and foreign, of species and ideology. Remember, Laira thought as they ventured deeper into the endless black of space, love and connection can break through the barriers of any world. In her heart, she held the echoes of the frozen landscape, its beauty, its harshness. But more importantly, she embraced the relationships forged in those unforgiving conditions. A new chapter was on the horizon, waiting to unfold, as the legacy of bonds crafted amid the icy breath of Argos would last beyond the stars. In the cosmic dance of destinies intertwined, the mysteries of their journey would continue to bloom, shimmering like the endless expanse beneath them, simply awaiting discovery. If you liked this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.